Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how you can crochet your own roses. Perfect for giving to the one you love as an anniversary gift or to celebrate St. George's Day. Hello, my name's Karen Stangram and welcome to Conquer Crochet, the channel for tips, tricks and techniques for conquering your crochet. Everything I talk about in today's video will be linked in the descriptions below. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss a single stitch. So if you're keen to get going with this video, give me a thumbs up and let's do this. So for this rose tutorial I'm going to be using a double knit in red. You can use any colour you want. You could use any size yarn that you want as long as you're using the appropriate hook. This colourway shade is 0402 and it's a cedar country style yarn. It's a wool blend. And I'm going to be using a 4mm hook. If you're using an Aran, you might want to use a 5. If you're using a different yarn, have a look and see what it says on your label. This one suggests that we use a 4mm hook. So for this rose we're going to leave a long tail because we're going to make our piece all in one go and roll it up and then sew it together, and we can use this tail to sew our yarn back together. So we're going to make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 55. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're then going to work into the 4th chain from the hook, so not the one on the hook. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to go in there with a treble. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Chain 1, miss 2 chains, 1, 2. And then into the next stitch we're going to treble, chain 2 and treble again into the same stitch. Then we're going to repeat, so we're going to chain 1, oops, miss 2 stitches, treble, I went into the wrong one then, 1, 2, treble, chain 2 and treble in the same stitch. Skip 2 stitches, so chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, treble, chain 2 and treble in the same stitch. And we're going to carry this on all the way down our chain. So we're going to carry on all the way down our chain. So it's a treble, chain 2, treble, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, treble, chain 2, treble in the same stitch, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, and you'll find that your work will start to slowly curve round. That's because we're doing a chain 1 at the top and missing 2 at the bottom, so it's starting to bend over. Okay, so continue with this pattern until you get to the end of your row, and I'll see you back at the end of row 1. So when you come to the end you should end up with 2 extra chains, and we're going to chain 1 at the top here, and we're just going to do a single treble in that last stitch. Okay, for row 2 we're going to chain 3, and then we're going to turn our work. Now we're going to be working into the 2 chain spaces. Let's get rid of that tail. So this wasn't a 2 chain space, this is a 1 chain space. So the ones between our trebles are the 2 chain spaces. So in that first chain space, we are going to make a treble into the space. We're then going to chain 2, and we're then going to do 2 trebles, 1 and 2. In the next 2 chain space, we're going to chain 2 to travel. We're going to do 2 trebles, two chains, and 2 trebles. Going to do 2 chains to travel, and we're skipping this gap here. We're going into this chain space. Again, we're doing 2 trebles, doubles in US terminology, and then 2 chains, and then 2 trebles, and we work this way all the way along our row. So chain 2 to travel to the next 2 chain space, and in that 2 chain space you're going to do 2 trebles, 2 chains, and 2 trebles. So pause the video now whilst you work your way back along your row. So I've just done the last of my 2 chain spaces. I'm just going to chain 1 and treble into that last space that was made by the 3 chain from the previous round, just to close up that gap there. We're not going to be working into this gap, so we're going to turn our work, and into the first 2 chain space, which is the one that's created by the trebles, we're going to make 6 trebles. We're not going to chain first, we're just going to go straight across and do 6 trebles. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Into the next 2 chain space, which isn't a trebles one, we're going to do a double crochet. So insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the 2 on your hook, and that gives us our first petal. In the next 2 chain space we're going to make 7 trebles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then we're going to double crochet in the next 2 chain space. Oops. And then again, and we're going to do that pattern of 7 and a double crochet, 7 trebles and a double crochet across 8 sets. So that's 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets, 6 sets, 7 sets, 8 sets. And I'm going to put a stitch marker in that last one just to remind me that that's where my last set's going to be, just in case you lose count as you're going through. Okay, so into the next 2 chain space we're going to do 7 double crochets. We don't chain to travel, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then double crochet into the next 2 chain space. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and double crochet into the next 2 chain space. So continue doing your 7 trebles and then your 1 double crochet, 7 trebles, 1 double crochet until you get down to the double crochet you're going to do where your stitch marker is, and I will join you back there then. So I've just got to where my stitch marker is, so I'm going to take it out now. I'm trying not to get my working yarn and that long tail caught up. So in the next 2 chain space we're going to do 9 trebles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. In the next 2 chain space just a double crochet, and then 9 in the next 2 chain space, 9 trebles that is, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, 7, and 8, and 9. Double crochet in the next 2 chain space. In the next one we do 9 trebles, then 1 double, 9 trebles, 1 double, and I will meet you when we get to the end. So pause the video now whilst you do your 9 trebles in 1 chain, 2 chain space, and then a double crochet in the next 2 chain space. So I'm just coming up to the last one now. I'm just going to do my double crochet in there, and then I'm going to yarn over, pull through, and I'm going to snip off my ends. Okay, I'm going to take my needle now and I'm just going to hide my end away. And I'm going to do it on the inside, which is the right side. And right as in the right as opposed to the wrong, not the right as opposed to the left. And with the right side you'll see that you get the bump of your trebles at the top here, and then the wrong side you don't get the same sort of bump. Okay, so this is the wrong side and this is what we call the right side. Okay, so I'm just weaving in this tail because we left a long tail at the beginning to help us with sewing in the ends. So we don't need to leave such a long tail for this part here. So let's just do one last weave. I'm doing a rule of 3. There we go. Going to cut that end off. Oops, daisy. Put that to one side and just flatten out our stitches there. Okay, so we're going to start with the smaller petals. So you can see how this is now wanting already to curve round. Okay, so our bigger petals are the one that had the 9 in. We started off with the 6. So we're going to start with the 6 and we're basically just going to roll all the way round, trying to keep level where our bottom would be. I find it easier to do it on the table, so I'm just rolling this around. That tail out of the way. Making sure it's fairly tight, not too loose, otherwise it will just fall apart. Okay, so there you have your rose. So what we're going to do now is, holding that nice and tight, take our needle and thread it with that long tail we left at the beginning. Sorry. And we're just going to weave it through and sew all of those bottom stitches together. And you can make it nice and tight if you want to put it through. What we don't want is for this middle bit to push out too far, otherwise it just won't look as nice and neat. Okay, so that needs to stay in as close as it can. Make sure you get through every single bit. You don't want that to unravel. And when you are happy that you have done enough stitches through to hold it all together, we're just going to finish off. So I'm going to go through one stitch there and then make a knot through the loop. And I'm going to just tie a knot as I normally would and pull that tight. Thread it through, pull it quite tight and snip off my end, and that end will now just disappear into the rose. And you can play about with the petals, pulling them out if you want to, or you can keep it all nice and tight together to keep it more of a bud shape. To display these, if you are using them on a wreath, you might want to put a little piece of wire behind or a piece of thread so you can attach it to the wreath. Or you could take a piece of florist dowel or a piece of florist wire, and you can insert that into the bottom of your rose. Let's work that in. And there you have a rose on a stick. On a stem. Now if you wanted to, you could spray these with starch just to help them keep their shape, but actually they keep their shape quite well anyway. So that's on the wire, and let's see what it looks like on the dowel. It's a bit tricky to get through because it's a bigger piece. There you are. There's our rose. I really hope you found today's tutorial useful. If there are any information that you need to find out about this video, have a look in the descriptions below where I post all the links to any freebies and other videos I think you might find useful. Don't forget, if you have enjoyed this video, to give me a thumbs up below. Don't forget also to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you've enjoyed it and you'd like to see more of my tutorial videos. There are 2 other videos on screen to help you on your crochet journey, and I will see you over there. Thank you so much for joining me on this one, and happy hooking!